Blessings and peace to you. This is SB Favor Thinking Podcast, and my name is SB Favor. How are you doing today? It is Wednesday, August 4th, 2021. Another wonderful day and another day to be thankful. And as I always say, if you focus on what is good, then you can project something good to happen. So focus on what is good, because negative thinking does not benefit anything. So make sure you focus on what is good. If you are out there traveling about, make sure you're wearing your mask and using your hand sanitizer. I always remind you of that because I care. We are still in the middle of a pandemic, so we cannot act like it's not going on. So make sure you protect yourself and protect your family members. If you would like to donate to this podcast, you can donate at $SB Favor at Cash App. I appreciate your support, and also make sure that you don't forget to donate to a charity. I have to remind you of that because it's so important to give. So make sure you give to Feed America, and you can give at feedamerica.org. I suggest that you give to Feeding America because so many people are in need of food, and I just believe that giving is a blessing. So make sure you give. Jaki Draper is here this evening, and we are going to talk about forgiveness. Forgiveness is a part of wellness, so we're going to talk about that tonight. So I hope everybody did have a good day, and I hope that you will be blessed by this episode. Hello, Jaki. How you doing tonight?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm moving right along. I'm here. I'm here. Yeah. How was your day?
I had a nice day. It's been raining all week here, though. It rained all day yesterday, all day today. So
yeah.
It's not my lovely sunny time right now.
Yeah. Well, it's been raining here too. I'm in the Carolinas, and I was in Virginia earlier in the week, and it was raining there too. Yeah. Ooh. It was thunderstorms, near the beach, just loud thunderstorms. But we're here, so that's what matters, right?
Right.
Well, we're going to talk about forgiveness, and me and you were talking about forgiveness a little bit. We were talking about what were we going to talk about this week. We were talking about that last week, and you suggested forgiveness, and I know for a fact that came to your mind for a reason. Forgiveness is something that I always talk about with family and friends, and forgiveness is very important because all of us have been through something in our life with someone somewhere, and we have experienced something that we need to forgive. And sometimes people think that forgiveness is for the other person, like you're just letting the person off or you're giving the other person a pass. But no, forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness is a major part of your spiritual wellness. So, Jaki, what do you think about when you hear the word forgiveness?
When I hear the word forgiveness, I think freedom.
Mm-hmm.
I think peace. I think of weight being lifted off your shoulders.
Yes.
We spend a lot of time reliving pain.
Mm-hmm.
When you relive it over and over again, it doesn't cause the other person pain. It causes you pain.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is, I see it as a sickness. I see unforgiveness as a sickness because I think that when you harbor the wrong thoughts in your mind, it affects your heart. And then when it affects your heart spiritually and naturally, I believe that type of darkness can just go through the whole body, So,
right.
But, yeah, so, forgiveness is very important and it's very key. And so, to forgive, the first step we should take is to change how we think about what happened to us. I think that, for me personally, I think if I could think about a time in my life where I was betrayed or somebody did something that was very hurtful, the first thing I did was I accepted what happened. I accepted, I came to terms with it, and I said to myself, okay, this person did this to me. I have to accept it, right? And then once I accepted what happened, then I decided to let it go. I had to let it go, meaning I had to change the way I thought about the situation. I could no longer look at the person and say, yeah, they did this to me. No, I had to look at it another way. I had to look at it like, okay, this person did this. I accept it. Now I have to move on. So that's why I say we have to change how we think about the situation first by accepting what happened. What do you think a person should do, Jackie, when they need to forgive? Because I know we all process things differently, and somebody else might have a different way of going about it. But how do you think a person should start with forgiveness?
Well, I think first, as you're saying, you have to commit to letting go.
Yes.
It's not going to be something that happens right away. You have to commit to the change. It's going to be something that's going to come into your mind constantly. You're going to think about it here. And first of all, in the beginning, I'm sure it's all the time, but you have to stop in your track and tell yourself, I'm not going to entertain this. I'm not going to think about it. We're letting this go. It was in the past. I can't focus on this any longer. It's not good for me.
Exactly. And that's why I said acceptance. I think we have to accept what happened, because a lot of times I think people get stuck right there. They don't want to accept what happened. The first thing sometimes we all have said one time or another, we probably said something like, I can't believe they did this. I just can't believe it. Oh, yes, you can believe it. Accept it. You know what I'm saying? We have to come to terms with what has taken place, and we have to accept it. It might hurt. You might not want to deal with it. You may want to just cast it out of your mind and act like it didn't happen. But if you first accept what has taken place, no matter how bad it feels, no matter how bad it is, accept what happened. It's no reflection of you because you were the one that was hurt. It's a reflection of the person that did the hurt. So the first thing we should do is to accept it. And Jackie, I agree with you 100%, because you said we should not constantly think about it. We should, of course, it will come up at some point when it first happened. But at some point, you got to have some type of control over your mind to not just constantly think about it. Because the more you think about it, now it will start to fester into something else, which I believe it starts to spill over into anger. What do you think about that, Jackie?
Right. I think that with any process, whenever you feel that someone has wronged you to a point that you have to forgive them, it's going to be a similar mourning process. Mm-hmm. You need to go through the stages of, like you said, accept what happened. Mm-hmm. And you find when you're talking to people that have some type of situation, like you were saying, I can't believe they did this. I can't believe this happened. Well, I can't believe they did this. And that goes on. You have to allow people a certain period of time to have those emotions and work through that part. But it comes to a point when the forgiveness starts to affect your life, your day-to-day life, your relationships with other people, your job, just the way you deal with yourself throughout the day. Mm-hmm. It, like you were talking about, darkness, mm-hmm. it festers in you. Yes. And it's a wound that you're not healing is basically what's happening. Exactly. So in order to heal it, you have to commit to healing it, and you have to constantly pay attention to it. Yes. And paying attention to it meaning pushing it out and saying, we're not going there. We're not going to allow ourselves to feel sorry for ourselves. We're not going to allow ourselves to feel angry towards the other person. We have to let this go. Yes. Yes. I like what you said. You said commit to it. Commit to healing it. Commit to it. I love that. Commit to healing. To be better means you love yourself enough to let it go. You love yourself enough to forgive. Isn't that amazing? I love that, Jackie. I love that. Commit to it. Absolutely. Well, I feel like the commitment needs to be there because of the fact that it's a process. Yes. It's just like when you commit to eating healthy, when you commit to a workout regimen. Yes. You're committing to healing your heart, basically, whenever you're trying to forgive someone. And it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. Absolutely. It is a process. It is a process because you are taking steps to just digest what has taken place with acceptance. And then, of course, in that process, you want to change how you think, because changing how you think is part of the process. Because when you change how you think in the process, that's the process of healing.
because your healing is for you. It's not for the other person. It's for you. That's why it's so important to forgive. Because if you decide to walk in unforgiveness, now you're talking about walking around in emotional pain, spilling it onto others. And that's not healthy and that's not wellness. So you want to make sure that you commit to healing yourself, commit to loving yourself more, to forgive, because forgiveness is spiritual wellness. That's what I call it. Spiritual wellness. Unforgiveness is like a sewage. That's how I define unforgiveness. It's like a sewage. And when you think about a sewage, that doesn't smell good or look good. So if you think about it like that, yes, in the inside. in the inside. That's pretty gross. And I'm saying it like that on that level because guess what? I believe that's how God sees unforgiveness. I believe that he sees it and he looks at it in such a disgusting way. And that is why, Jesus said, forgive that you can be forgiven. Because, I just believe that when God, talks about forgiveness, I believe strongly that he's talking about self-love, because forgiveness is a part of self-love to carry his love, right? So if you don't forgive, it's almost like you're not participating in self-love, and I'm
what
only...
happens when...
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say what happens when you don't forgive is you are the only one holding on to it. This other person has already let it go.
Absolutely.
And you are the one holding on to it. So you are poisoning yourself with your thoughts. When you don't stop reliving the hurt and you don't choose to move on,
right,
you're killing yourself. You're hurting yourself. You're poisoning yourself.
Yes, you're hurting yourself, and you are not allowing the best part of yourself to be revealed. Unforgiveness is you not allowing yourself to reveal the best part of yourself. Because when you forgive, it also reflects it reflects in your attitude toward others. Jackie, you mentioned earlier that, a person that has unforgiveness, it starts to spill over into other relationships. You mentioned that a little bit. It starts to affect, you use the word affect, other relationships. And that's true, what you say. It affects other relationships. So it's important that we, as individuals, that we evaluate ourselves, because nobody can really tell you. You spend time with yourself every day, and you spend time with God. Most of us do spend time with God. But I'm saying all that to say that evaluate areas in your life. If you come across something and you feel like you haven't forgiven somebody, check that area out. Because guess what? If you are walking around with unforgiveness, I believe that also unforgiveness produces hindrances for progress. What you think about that, Jack? When someone
absolutely,
they're walking in unforgiveness and they can't progress. They're trying to achieve a certain goal. Or they may want certain things to happen in their life. Is not happening fast enough because you just, there's no progress. I believe that unforgiveness can hold you back. What do you think about that? You there?
Absolutely, it can. The biggest reason is because you're living in the past. Whatever the situation was that caused you, that this person did to you, that caused you to feel hurt or what have you, then it's in the past. It is not now. You have to realize that it's in the past. You have to realize that it's over. And when you bring it into today, you're not living in the moment. Absolutely. You're not living in today.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You need to be able to find joy in what's happening right now.
Absolutely. So if a person is walking in unforgiveness, it can stop you from progressing in relationships, progressing in the things you want for your life personally. It can stop you from progressing in your spiritual wellness, your health and wellness. And the reason why I say your health, because guess what? When you walk in unforgiveness, the body produces toxic hormones that can make us sick when we walk in unforgiveness. You don't believe me? Look it up. The body produces good the body produces good hormones, and the body also produces toxic hormones. And toxic hormones being produced in the body from stress, unforgiveness, as you stated, Jackie, rehearsing hurt, those things produce sickness. So walking in forgiveness is for you as an individual. We can't walk around and blame people for something that happened 20 years ago. We have to come to terms with what has taken place. And I'm not saying that I'm giving somebody a pass because of some hurt that they have caused someone. But it gets to a point where you have to decide forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness is a benefit for you. Forgiveness is self-love, and forgiveness is self-care. So forgiveness is for you. It's a topic that some people will probably say, oh, well, you just don't understand, and you just don't understand what they did to me, and they just did so much wrong to me, And then I also hear some people saying, oh, well, a lot of stuff happened historically. I don't want to forgive a certain race of people. I don't want to do this. I hear people say all kinds of things about unforgiveness. And I think some people say what they say because they don't understand the power of forgiveness. What do you think about that, Jackie, when you hear people say, I just don't want to forgive them, or I'm not ready to forgive them? What do you think about that?
Well, not ready to forgive them is probably the most common thing that we all go through when someone has hurt us or wronged us. And I think it goes again with the mourning process. And sometimes you're not ready to forgive them. You need to work through it. You need to understand it and get to a point to where you are ready to let it go. It's something that takes time. It's not something that's instantaneous, and it's a process. And I think everyone has their own process, but some people, and sometimes we all, not just some people, but sometimes we all have something that has wronged us to a degree that we feel we need to hold on to this for a little longer before we're ready to let it go. I don't think that's uncommon, and I don't think it's unreasonable either.
No, it's not. I think that personally, I think that the longer you hold on to it, the longer you will open yourself up to more harm. And the only reason why I say that is because I had to forgive a lot of people in my life. We all have. And when I made a decision, a conscious decision to forgive friends, family members, people that I thought cared about me, when I made a conscious decision to forgive them, I recognized that the longer I held on to what they did, I was doing more harm to myself, because I said, also, I'm not ready to forgive. I have to just wait. No, but the longer you wait, the more harm you do to yourself. Yes, it is a process. I'm sorry?
100%.
Yeah, it is a process. But what happens is
I agree 100%.
It's a decision. It's a decision you make, because when I recognize harm was done to me from one individual at one point in my life, I recognized, wow, this person, they betrayed me. And I asked myself the question. I said, okay, how am I going to deal with this? And I had to accept what happened. And then once I accepted it, I said, you know what? Now I have to love myself. And now I have to recognize that it's not going to do me any good at all if I sit and think about this every day, 7 days a week. So as much as I could, I made sure I prayed about it. I made sure that I changed my thought patterns about it. I made sure that person no longer had no power over me, because Every time you see the person that harmed you, all those ill feelings will come back up if you have not changed your thought process about what happened. And the reason why I say thought process, you have to accept what happened, and you have to decide to forgive. It's a decision. But like I said, first accepting what happened. And when you make that decision and you develop a different thought pattern about it based upon your decision, then you'll have healthy feelings. I'm not saying you will feel good about being betrayed, but what I'm saying is you won't feel those ill feelings based upon those ill thoughts you had, because your thoughts can drive your emotions. If you have an ill thought, you will have an ill emotion. So if you have a healthy thought, then you will continue to have healthy emotions. So, the first step you should take to forgive is to accept what happened and then work through the process of developing better thoughts about what happened to you. Accept what happened. And also, the positive part of being betrayed or being hurt is this. Learn something from what you went through. Learn something from what you went through so that you can have a lesson to teach somebody else. Because everything that we go through, it should never be for waste. I believe that anything that we go through, it should be used later for power. So Jackie, have you ever had experience in your life where you struggle with forgiveness?
Well, I've had moments in my life where I believed that I forgave someone.
Mm-hmm.
And I believed that I moved on. And then it just hit me again, like years later. And you realize, why am I feeling this way? I shouldn't feel that way about this. I thought I let this go a long time ago. So it's a process. Yes, absolutely. It's sometimes, depending on how big of a betrayal it is, it's going to be a long process.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about,
mm-hmm.
Many times you talk about that you can control your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's part of that commitment that whenever you think about it, the thoughts come up, you have to stop in your tracks, change your mindset, and change it. It has to be deliberate. It's not gonna, you can sit around and say, oh, well, it still hurts. It's still painful. Well, you're letting it still hurt and be painful. Once you recognize that it's there, you have to make the conscious effort to let it go.
Yes.
And then eventually it will go.
Yes. And I'm glad you mentioned that about the hurt coming back up years later, because that can also happen to show you where you are. It can also show you whether or not, if you are still holding on to something, because sometimes we say, oh, well, I forgave that person. But like I said earlier, you could see that person or something can remind you of that person, and then those ill feelings will come up. But see, the key thing to that is the thoughts. Because see, a lot of times, many of us, we bask in the wrong emotions. We bask in it. If you keep your thoughts healthy, if you practice thinking the right way, a healthy way, the happy way, the joyful way, the right kind of attitude way, if you practice the wrong thoughts, when ill emotions come, you can reject those emotions based upon how you think. But what happens is, because many of us are taught to just go by our feelings instead of our thinking, we bask in the wrong emotions. Because some emotions are very toxic. And I'm saying this to you because that's what I've gone through to get to where I am today. I had to tell myself, no, no, no. I'm not going to allow this person to have power over me by basking in that hurt. If something happened in 2001, and here this is 2021, you mean to tell me you see that person at the mall, or if something reminds you of that person and you feel that pain or that hurt and you just going to sit there? No, change how you think. And the moment that you change how you think and you practice to think healthy, those emotions will change to the point where you will not feel that anymore. But a lot of times, Jackie, those emotions come back around the corner because of our ill thinking. And like I said, I'm only saying this because this is what happened to me. I thought I was walking in healing, and I thought that I forgave a certain person. And then as soon as I started thinking the wrong way, which was the wrong direction, I had to turn around in my mind and say, wait a minute, I got to think the right way and get rid of these ill emotions. Because ill emotions come from wrong thinking. And if you are basking in ill emotions, negative, toxic emotions, guess what? You're going to sit there, and it's just going to sit there with you if you have the thoughts that go right along with that. But if you change your thinking, those emotions will line up and become healthy, just like your thinking. So, but that's real. That's
right.
Go
I
ahead.
think a lot of people don't realize that you have a choice in your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
They allow their emotions, like you were saying, to cloud their choices, to cloud their thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And then they feel that they cannot control their thoughts. They don't have a choice in the matter.
Absolutely. And then some
people have
people
no power over it.
Right. And then some people think, well, I'm supposed to feel like this because they did this to me. No. You're not supposed to feel like that if you want to be healthy mentally, spiritually, and naturally. If you want to be... I'm sorry?
Or they feel like it's punishing the other person by holding on to this grudge.
Right. Exactly. Which is like carrying their baggage around. It's almost like somebody gives you a bag of hurt and tell you, now you carry this as long as you can. No, you make a decision to take that bag of hurt and toss it. And you can toss it by how you think. Oh, my Lord.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
What do you think about when you're in a situation where you need to forgive yourself? Maybe you made some poor choices in the past and you're holding on to not forgiving yourself.
That's a good question because I just went through that last spring. Well, it's okay to have a moment and accept your own faults, accept your own bad decisions or choices. Have your moment. It's okay. Have your moment, but make sure you have that moment also with God in prayer, meditation. Make sure you have that moment with Him, because once you have that moment, you don't want to keep rehearsing that. Once you have that one moment, okay, I made a mistake. I did this. I did that. Okay, once you get past that, now you have to think differently about yourself. It's the same rule. You change the thinking about yourself and you project something better according to what you want to happen for yourself. When at any time you make the wrong decision again, you forgive yourself the same way by projecting something better and different for yourself. That's positive. But do not walk around with negative thoughts and calling yourself a failure and walking around thinking you can't do nothing better or right. Don't do that. It's okay to have one moment. I call it the one moment of truth. You have the one. I like that. Yes, the one moment of truth. It's okay to, have that one moment. But when you have that moment, make sure you have that moment also with God. Because you don't want to walk around beating yourself, condemning yourself, and feeling so bad that you can't get up and you can't stand. No. You got to love yourself according to how you think. Love yourself according to believing in yourself, knowing that you can do better. And you have to project something different and better for yourself that is positive. So that's the answer to your question, Jackie. This topic is something that sometimes people feel like, oh, well, I don't need that because I'm past all that and I forgave them and all that and I'm good. No. Guess what? That person that's saying that is the primary one that's walking around with unforgiveness. And guess what? That will be the one that will become so angry as soon as something happens. Anybody can tick them off. Anybody can remind them of what happened 5 or 10 years ago, and they'll be ticked off and they'll be angry, because anger also represents unforgiveness. When somebody reminds you of something, that's unforgiveness. They remind you of, oh, you remind me of my ex, or you remind me of when my dad hurt me. You in a new relationship with a new person, and that person reminds you of someone you dated 15 years ago. Guess what? That could be unforgiveness. So all those different things are examples of how we could be holding unforgiveness. All those different examples we discussed are benefits of forgiveness. And we have to decide to just simply love ourselves better by getting rid of the past that didn't benefit us. We are only supposed to learn from the negative, not rehearse it. What'd you say, Jackie?
Right. Forgiveness doesn't mean erasing the past or even forgetting that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And what it means is that you're going to let go of your anger, let go of your pain, and you're going to move to a better place.
Yes, absolutely. Because forgiveness produces newness, a new attitude, a new mindset, a new projection for yourself and others that you love. That's what forgiveness does. Forgiveness helps you to bask in the moment of all that is good. Because, Jackie, you mentioned that, rehearsing things from the past. Mm-hmm. It stops a person from functioning in the moment of the now.
Right.
So
we get trapped in the cycle of anger and hurt.
Yes.
And then we miss the beauty of life that's happening now.
Absolutely.
Because we're trapped in the past.
Absolutely. You can never go wrong, people, with forgiving someone that hurt you. You're not doing it for the other person. You are doing it for yourself. Because if you love yourself, if you love your own heart, your own mind, your own spirit, if you love yourself, take care of yourself in the inward parts more than the outward parts. Yes, there's nothing wrong with taking care of our outward parts, but we got to take care of our inward parts, our heart, our mind, and our spirit. And when you do that, that's self-love. So, Jackie, do you want to share something else?
No, I liked everything you said. I think that was great.
Well, listeners, we're going to wrap up this episode. And Jackie, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. As always, you have been an excellent co-host with me, and I'm looking forward to doing more episodes with you.
Thank you. I love being here.
Yeah. And so next week, we're going to talk again about something good. And listeners, we appreciate you, and I thank you for tuning in to listen to SB Favorite Thinking Podcast. Please share the podcast with others. And if you need to reach me, you can reach me at sbfavor@yahoo.com via email. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at sbfavor. I also have a YouTube channel. Please click like and click the bell so that you can receive a notification each time there is a new episode of SB Favorite Thinking Podcast. But you must subscribe to the channel first, so please make sure you subscribe to the channel, SB Favor. Also, make sure you share the podcast with others. You must share the podcast with others. You got to do that. I appreciate you, listeners. You have been such a blessing to me. And once again, I thank you for tuning in. You have a good day.